All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to this webinar, which is about experience management for ServiceNow. So we are HappySignals, the leading employee experience management platform for IT. And today we are very specifically talking about why employee experience management is important for your Now platform. And as you can see from some of the G2 patches here, users really love us. So go and read some of the reviews. Joined with me today is Sami Kallio, our CEO. Hi, Sami.
Hi, Pasi. Thank you.
And I'm Pasi Nikkanen, also one of the co-founders here. And really the topic that we are talking today is that when was the last time that you heard, thanks to IT, I was able to? And I guess, Sami, this really takes us to the founding moments of HappySignals. Do you want to share a little bit on the story, why we are doing what we are doing?
Yeah, I can. But kind of, Pasi, I think the more common version of this is because of IT, I wasn't able to. And I think that's kind of a drive us all, that it's really kind of a helping everybody to be valuable and feeling valuable in their work. And I think that is one of the things we found out in the really beginning, that there really was a disconnect. During those times, 6 years ago, we were doing a lot of interviews with end users, like 500 interviews with different individuals. And then on the other hand, we interviewed CIOs. And kind of the understanding on the CIO side, they were kind of thinking that the experience is important. But when asking what you guys know about it, everybody know only one number. And that number was just the number that was written in the outsourcing agreement, the minimum level.
Yeah.
And then there was kind of a total disconnection of end users complaining or maybe be happy in something, and then only one number should be showing something. But I think those still, what drives me is still those 500 interviews. I was part of, let's say, 300 of those in group interviews and so on. But I have to share one story.
Yeah, go ahead.
From those was, we were in one factory here in Finland, interviewing really the normal end users. There was one guy directly from the manufacturing line. And when we asked, please share your experience with IT, he was wearing that blue uniform, and he raised up, took a screwdriver, so that to me, said, this is a tool. Then he pointed out to his friend's laptop, that is a toy. And he sat down. But that really kind of, then I was like, oh great, 3 hours with this guy and trying to figure out what we can learn from him. But that 3 hours was enormously good, because he just had to get that said.
Yep.
And then he was really cooperative and really told the normal stories of end users. I think that is kind of what we are still doing, is closing that gap between end users and IT to really kind of do it together. And I really understanding the feelings and how these end users, how we can help them in all over IT.
Yeah. And I think also why we are here today is that, and why we are really focusing on the Now platform is that did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just cut that away. So yeah, that's really interesting. And I think also one of the reasons why we are here talking about doing this on top of Now platform is that what we have heard from talking with executives is that there are three things that they're looking with the Now platform. One is that don't customize it. So I think that's a good message and kind of helps us, like, why we are using the ecosystem, why we are using the ServiceNow store, why do we want to be one of the partners with ServiceNow. So we feel that we can bring in this experience management on top of your Now platform without you needing to customize anything. Because I think we have heard that from the old days that people customize their ServiceNow environments to death. And then it's very difficult to take on the new things into use. And I think now, after last year, employee experience, it's a topic that nobody can just ignore anymore. I know this is something that when we started, we went to some expo in the UK, and people said, we were asking, are you interested in service experience or employee experience? And no, we're just interested in cost savings. And I think that kind of brings us also to the third point, which is show us the return on investment on your Now platform. So how do you prove the value of all the things that you do with the Now platform? And I think those are the three things that we'll try to cover today in this webinar as well. But what do you think are the main reasons for this happening? And I think, who has ever talked with us before knows that we use the watermelon thing just like many people in the industry nowadays. So if you, in service management, if you are following your SLAs and the KPIs that you have set, it's many times that they are not related to the end users. So all the KPIs, they look that everything is fine, everything is working great. Then you go to the coffee machine, or nowadays you have your Teams meeting or your Zoom meeting, people are just complaining. So the people are kind of seeing red and feeling red, even though IT, based on numbers, should be doing great. And I think it's really on focusing on the output. But I think we also some see this in the digital transformation projects and kind of any kind of IT project delivery, that many times the project agreement says when this needs to be done and how much can it cost. There's nothing in that agreement saying what the outcome should be. It's just what is the output, what is the date, what is the budget that we're going to use. And that's probably a reason why many digital transformation projects fail. Anything you want to add on these
I think it's kind of all these, let's say, traditional measurements are measuring how we work inside IT, how efficient we are inside IT.
Yeah.
And kind of, in a certain way, they are easy metrics. It's just that, yes, we can do and we can follow the processes like this, and this is the delivery. But it's nowadays not enough.
Yeah.
Because then it might be that, the servers are up and running, and yes, you did answer the phone in 2 minutes. So what?
Exactly.
Did that help the end users? And that's a change that is now coming to, or has come for all IT, that it's business is not feeling that isn't anymore enough.
Oh, so when you have this, when you have the kind of the watermelon effect on your organization, so what does it really lead to?
I think the first bullet on that list is the key thing, I would say. So the bad reputation of IT is very, very bad thing for the whole thing, because then you are not listened to, meaning that business is thinking that they just order something from you and you are just doing something they ask. You cannot be proactive. They are not taking you in the early discussions. They are finding ways of doing something, kind of shadow IT stuff and that kind of stuff. So it's really taking your organization apart. I think what has happened now in the recent years, during the recent year, is that IT is more involved because everybody now working remotely. That has kind of, in some cases at least, helped you guys to be on the same table, because everybody knows the value of IT now, even more than they did before.
Yeah, and I think it's the whole employee experience. If it was felt more like an HR topic earlier, well, now you're working from home. Most of your experience towards your work place and your work colleagues is through the IT services.
So kind of the IT touch points are about equal as employee touch points nowadays. Yeah. So true. We have in IT even more kind of responsibilities on that one. I think this kind of the overall thing is that when you are not working in an experience management way, you are not understanding end users enough, it leads also to the other points here, like you are not doing it together. I think that is one thing what I enjoy in our business the most, is that we are helping enterprises and vendors, ServiceNow implementation partners, and ServiceNow to work together with a common goal. And I think we are going to talk about that Pasi later on today. But that's one very key thing, that if you are in the watermelon thing, it's like everybody shouting something, and kind of not maybe shouting, but decisions sometimes are made by somebody just saying very, very loudly that I want this and I believe in this one. Based on what? Their own opinion, couple of tickets, couple of comments, and you don't have the kind of common understanding of what really matters. And I think that's then making kind of who shouts the most will get something done.
Yeah. And I think also this unable to quantify the happiness and productivity, because they are soft values, and suddenly as an IT person, you're supposed, as a CIO, how do I quantify happiness? How do I quantify something like feelings? And I guess that's what we want to show today.
And maybe you Pasi remember you in the beginning of this company, when we were in UK in the first events, I think we quite often heard that I'm not interested in the end user opinion, because they will always complain.
Yeah.
And kind of that is true. And let's get back to that one later on as well, because it's not a bad thing. Exactly. It's just pointing out there are always areas where you need to improve.
Yeah.
So, but you can get rid of, if they're complaining about something, if you didn't right, yes, they are more happy.
Yeah.
But we humans, we find another area where we are not satisfied.
All right. So I guess that really leads us into this, that what we see in HappySignals is that really the end user experience, the experience that your thousands of employees in your organizations are having with IT really should be the outcome. And many times, understanding the output versus outcome, I think especially in these times, if we take the hospital metaphor, are hospitals there so that they will, out from the hospital, there should be like 200 patients coming out each day. Is that really the goal and the outcome that hospital should have? Or is the point that we actually cured this many patients today? And at least this was something that was in the Finnish newspapers about how hospitals are measured. And I think it's a little bit same here in IT, that really you should be understanding how the end users experience those. Where are they struggling, and tackle those things. All the other stuff are just like these secondary things that help you maybe find root causes. But really this gives you the common focus. And it kind of also brings us to our experience management framework. So I'll let you, Sami, talk on the wheel in the middle, but kind of what are the two things that we see are the most important things? We see that the most important is the happiness. How did it make me feel? Because that's what everybody remembers, and that's a human thing. We're making IT services for humans. We can't measure them in binary format. We need to understand the feeling behind it. How did this make me feel? And it's also the combination of multiple things, devices, locations, services, applications that you need to understand. And that will then really lead to productivity, but also asking from the employees, how much time did I waste? That allows you to understand what are business critical. So yeah, what about the wheel, Sami? You want to talk us through on why do we have this kind of wheel with the 4 things on it?
So I think that is the very, very key of experience management. So we very typically say that the measurement part is the easy one. And in our case, ready-made surveys that you just take in use, so the rollout is really easy. And as I'm talking about ServiceNow, it is a ServiceNow application. So you can download it from the ServiceNow store and very, very easy to take in use. And the strength in our product is that, as Pasi said in the beginning, ready-made, not configured, just take it in use. You change the colors that you want to use, but it's out of the box and best practice for the whole IT experience. In our tool, you get a lot of that feedback, and that is a starting point of everything. So you get enough feedback so you can trust the feelings of people. So if there is very, very few feedbacks, then really hard for us IT people to trust that. And when you get enough of that data, and then you start to kind of understand the trends and you start to understand what is going better than the other things. But that is the starting point, as said. Yeah. And then sharing that data, sharing that with vendors, and sharing that with ServiceNow, and sharing that with your service desk provider and service desk team. All those are very crucial so that you really start to kind of get the common understanding. So I typically say that our platform is an experience management tool, but it's also a cooperation tool between different players in the ServiceNow ecosystem, or with the ServiceNow, or in the service desk ecosystem as well. Identifying very, very key things. So we talked about...
Yeah, we're going to go into details on that,
But focusing on the right things, improvement, and following those up. So whatever you change, you follow those, and then you understand the outcome of that project. Yeah. You change some application, you change some vendor, you did new portal for your ServiceNow ecosystem, understanding how that really changed the end user's feeling.
Yeah,
I think that's... Understanding the whole wheel means that you start to understand the experience management.
Yeah, and it's about figuring out small things that you can do all the time and understanding the impact very fast. Like one of the things I was talking with ING Bank was that we had this startup program with them, and it was great that they were able to go talk with us on how they have been doing this kind of stuff. And it was like, hey, we measured in January, and then COVID hit last year in March. So basically they didn't do anything with that data anymore. They did it twice a year, and that's, I think, what many companies do. They do this like yearly survey, or every now and then, or they start a project, they do it. But you really need to have a continuous thing, and I'll show you when we get some of those customer case examples that what kind of things will you see when you continuously do this stuff. All right, but I think kind of the whole point that we are going to is that when you actually get into employee-centric, then you start to hear this thanks to IT, I was able to. And let's face it, managing IT is not really getting any easier. So why is it hard? Like, why is it difficult for IT to figure out what should we do next? And I think partly it's some of this what you talk about, this broken telephone thing. So the end users are having their problems today, but then the kind of the feedback loop and all this kind of bureaucracy between it, that we can't give this feedback directly here. We have this vendor and we can't show it there, and multiple layers of things. Kind of the message get distorted, because I do think that the IT team actually wants to do a great job. They want to create great experiences, but if they don't know what the real problems are, then they get into this ideation thing that, hey, let's create like new ideas and let's solve some problems that they think they have. And the worst thing that might actually happen with that is that the original problem that the end user has actually gets worse with these new innovations. Those innovations themselves could be really good. Like, let's take chatbot into use, but nobody figure out how to, for what purpose are you putting that on? What problem are you solving with the chatbot? You just put it in because it's nice and new shiny tech. I mean, don't get us wrong, we love nice and new shiny tech, but it shouldn't be the reasoning for taking something into use.
I think in this picture is very good picture. If we go back to the discussion of can the vendor be proactive?
Yeah.
If this is the way how you collect the information, then no, they cannot be proactive. They cannot come to you as a customer and say, hey, this is your end users having this kind of an issue or this kind of problem, and this is our solution for that. The only thing what they can do is just wait that you order something from them, and then they are reactive.
Yeah. And why do we say that then you should actually measure from the human point of view? Why not just measure something from server availability and from your laptops and just have your processes measured? Why do we say that humans are the best sensors? Do you want to put your input on this first?
Yeah, I can. So the humans, we love them. They are challenging and they are changing their mind all the time. Is that a bad thing? No, because their experience changes. They learn to use some in their personal life. That means that they are demanding more from the applications we are giving them at work. I would maybe tell you a good example of what we mean by this, by the remote work.
Yeah.
So we started to measure that about a year ago. We wanted to help our customers to really handle the new situation. And during the first 2-3 months, it's the VPN. There is no enough capacity. Then after 3 months, what they were complaining of was, what I don't have same kind of equipment at home that I used to have it at the office. And last few months, it has been mainly like missing the colleagues.
Yeah.
So the things change what they are happy with. That is just a good thing. If you change your provider, if you change any applications, you don't have to configure the end users. They will give you an honest opinion. How did you do? Yes, it might be sometimes scary, but the thing is that in overall, yes, in IT we have limitations like the budget.
Yeah.
But using that budget, the best possible outcome from all this perspective should be the IT's main task.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of going back to the sensor thing, like this never needs configuration. It's like, so when everybody went remote, how would you suddenly start measuring that remote thing if you just don't ask from the, you just ask from the people? They understand, what's going on. Also the circumstances. So some service isn't always business critical to me. In certain situations it is, in certain situations it's not. If I'm a financial person, go and talk to financial person at the end of the month or the end of the quarter. After they have done that, there's no hurry. Like, ERP can be down for a week. Nobody cares. If the ERP is down for 15 minutes at the end of the month, it's a catastrophe. So that's why you need to understand, when does it matter? And I think one of the cool things with ServiceNow is that when you start to understand this, you can actually start to adjust the priorities. Let's talk about that in a little bit in the automation things, but yeah, I'll still keep it as a teaser.
But I think when looking at this picture, sometimes it's like you should also think about that end user as a group of end users, like a certain part of your organization, salespeople, for example. And then when you look at their experience, what is critical to them, it is certain applications. And as you said, yes, might be that certain time of the month is even more critical in certain applications. It is the possibility of remote working, even though it would be the normal times. They will be working at the customer location. And if their IT is not working when they are there presenting your offering to a new prospect, that is a catastrophic thing for your business. So looking at this picture from the perspective of what are the critical things for different roles in your organization makes you understand the business is much better and makes your cooperation with the business units much easier. And so you don't have to understand every individual on their individual level, but understand it what we are delivering to certain business units makes that communication much more productive.
And that kind of leads us into this kind of single key metric. And I know I've listened to some of ServiceNow's messaging, and they talk about kind of leading and lagging indicators. So the whole point is that, you can fail this whole thing by approaching it in a way too complex way. If you give 10 metrics for people to follow and try to improve, it's impossible. But if you give them one metric, then the morning when they wake up at their home office, they take the coffee, they open the laptop on the kitchen table, they know that, okay, today I'm going to focus on what the users are saying. How can I make them happier? How can I make their IT, frictionless? And what that will lead to is productivity. So not trying to get into productivity directly, because that's very difficult. But when you start focusing on this very simple thing that everybody can understand, and it's also very motivating to come to work and think that, okay, today I'm going to make somebody happy. And kind of figure out, okay, when they are happy, it actually means that they can do their work better and they will be more productive. And of course, in the Richard Branson way, that will make the external customer happier when that happens. And kind of talking about this also from this people, processes, technology point of view on the productivity. So how do you improve productivity? If we start from the bottom, and as an IT person, I'm responsible of the laptops, and I see that through measuring some tool, I can see that, hey, maybe we could do something with the boot up time. Does it really matter? Well, like I said, the humans are the sensors. They start to understand, okay, it takes 10 minutes to boot up the laptop. I'll first press the power on button, then I'll go make the coffee. And when the coffee is ready, the machine is on, I'll just get to work. So they are able to react to this kind of situations. So they don't really, really matter that way. On the other hand, like you said, some in the earlier days, that many times we have kind of focused on the process users. So the IT processes, how can we save 15 minutes from certain process? How do you know that has any impact to the persons, to the end users? But what if you start from saying that, hey, this is where the people say that they are wasting 1 hour? That will kind of, if we take an example, like end users in UK are wasting their time on CRM or issues from home office, that's very specific. And if you get that, okay, it's 1 hour wasted by 15,000 employees each month. Okay, I know it's these processes, it's these things in the technology stack that we need to fix. IT people are super smart. You give them a real problem and they will solve it like hell. I mean, if IT people wouldn't be super good, nothing would have worked last year. In the whole COVID times, because people kind of went outside of their policies and processes, they just wanted to make sure that people can do their work and great things happened. So, okay, but hey, I think this really brings us to our product. So let's go and see how does actually HappySignals look like, and how can you focus on things on that one. So as you can see, in HappySignals, we combine the operational data from your ServiceNow to the experience data that we are gathering with HappySignals. So basically all these companies, country locations, services, channels, vendors, all that kind of stuff is coming through your ServiceNow instance. And then what we are adding on top of it is our experience. And here it's very easy to see where things are not fine. Usually when people talk about having customer satisfaction number or we have an NPS, they have one single number. But I think, Sami, this was also something that was asked many times when we started HappySignals, that people had this number and they were like, so where is it below? Where is it above? Nobody could really tell anything about it. So sharing this information to your IT department, to your vendors, everybody can see that, okay, hey, looks like there's something wrong going on with end users in Sweden. Clicking on that one, you can instantly see that, okay, hey, email and calendar service, that might be an issue. I can quickly go and see, are they using certain channels? What are the other things that they are saying? And they are saying that service is really slow, and maybe some of the skill things are the problems here. But yeah, Sami, anything you want to add on the kind of on the basic view of HappySignals? How do you identify things on it?
I think the best thing about it is it's continuously up to date. So it is not an Excel file that you have updated every month. Everybody can see the experience data from their own perspective. So you might be responsible for channel, you might be one vendor, you might be responsible for some of the applications.
That Sami brings to the trust issue, because it's not an Excel, it's real time. Everybody can go it to any time. So you create this trust between vendors and all the partners and the business stakeholders, because it's not manually modified.
And then everybody can kind of recognize, okay, that seems to be now really the area where we should be doing some innovation, or where we should be better from the end user perspective. That really kind of helps you to do it together. And I think, as I always try to say, our tool is a cooperation tool between different players in the ServiceNow ecosystem, for example, and then giving you the common target. Okay, this really is. So now nobody can say that because I want, the problem is this and this channel. You have facts if that is a problem or not.
And I think also something that we can see here, that's now we're looking at the happiness, but what if we want to understand from the productivity point of view? So I can just click on the lost time. Now actually the things on the red are where people are wasting time. So if you're now talking about this return on investment, where can I give time back to the business? Well, pick the red things on the lost time view. So that's an easy place to start. But hey, Sami, let's go into some very specific things, like certain topics, how to identify things on here. And maybe to show one slide before that is that, of course, in IT department, it's not just one person. HappySignals is really used from the C-level all the way to the service desk agents. So everybody has their own area, their own view that they're interested in. So let's go into some use cases. So let's say that you want to start automating something. How can you use HappySignals to find out what to automate?
I would definitely, and let's say there is a new customer, and when they have used our product for 1 month, the thing we show them in all first meetings we have is, you probably know it, reassignment count. And that really is something that we have learned also from the thousands and thousands of feedbacks we have gathered.
Yeah.
So every time ticket is reassigned in ServiceNow, you will lose about 10 points in the happiness, but you will add 1.5 hours to the lost productivity.
Yeah.
And now with ServiceNow, new tools, automation, you can start to recognize those areas where you are really doing those reassignments too many times. And maybe from your portal, recognize what this ticket is about, take that to an expert team faster, and get rid of those unnecessary reassignments, because that really makes people really frustrated about your service quality.
Yeah, and I guess the kind of the old ideal term behind it is the first call resolution in a way. So you can resolve it in the first call if you put it to the right place. So using the ServiceNow intelligence, I guess the agent intelligence tools and that kind of things to actually focus. And then in HappySignals tool, let's say that I want to understand which services are being reassigned most. I can just click on this one, and then it tells me that, hey, it's Workday and Salesforce related things. So it's very easy to understand, okay, who is the service owner on these tools? Go have a chat with them, pick those as, let's try to identify all the tickets where people are mentioning Workday, and let's try to put those to the right team directly. Kind of situation.
I think one thing what we have quite often, what we discuss with customers is if you go a bit up, the channel thing.
Yeah.
So also we have learned that not many companies are yet doing the portal in a way that that it would be working very well from the perspective of the end users.
Yeah.
ServiceNow has a great portal. You can do it, but then you have to do it so that when your end users are categorizing tickets, they are doing some work for you. Please do take those directly to the experts, because what we see in our benchmark is that very rarely that really works in that way. So you are making them categorize things, but there is even more reassignments behind portals than there is in emails, and then the portal is not liked, because kind of it is much easier to send email if the process behind it is the exactly same. It doesn't matter what channel I use to send it.
Yeah,
and
I think this kind of brings us to the second topic, which is about channel development. So what if you are responsible of figuring out the channels that the end users should use or would want to use? So it could be at some point that you see that certain people are more happier to certain channels. So what you can start to do is, okay, let's for example click on the portal and let's go and see the factors. So what we gather from whenever people are filling in the survey is these standard factors, understanding the reason why. You can't just ask them how happy they were without understanding the reason why they were not happy. The metaphor here is like when we used to go to airports, there were airport toilets where you have these smiley faces. You come out, you click on the red face. Why did you do that? Nobody knows. So was it because the toilet paper was out or the flight was delayed? Well, I guess nowadays it's because definitely not because the toilet paper was out. So, but yeah, understanding that is really a huge thing. But then also sometimes, how do I justify that? I know that people are pretty much as happy with email as they are with chat. How do I justify of moving the end users to the chat? Then you can start to use the productivity metric. So clicking on that one, you can see that, hey, people are saying that they are losing 3 hours and 30 minutes with each ticket through email, but only 1 hour 40 minutes through chat. You can actually convert that into a message to your end users that, hey, thank you for letting us know that you enjoy using the chat channel. As an IT, we have now decided to close the email and put more development effort on the chat. And then when you can get them to chat, you can start to use virtual agent. You can start to use this automation of putting the tickets to the right places, because it's not this unstructured email anymore that you're managing. So anything you want to, Sami, add on the channel development topic?
Yeah, I think that just is one of the things that is let's say after reassignments the most used when it comes to customer cases.
Yeah.
And also with that is combined to the profiles we are having in the product, then you start to kind of understand what kind of portal you should be having when you understand that are you having people who are resolving and wanting to resolve tickets on their own, or you are having people who want things to be solved on their behalf,
exactly.
and that kind of stuff.
Then maybe the next thing that I would like to highlight is this trend that is now happening in the industry called experience level agreements, XLAs. So, you might be thinking, so how do I get my ServiceNow, my Now platform into XLA world? Well, our message, of course, is that what you can do with HappySignals is you can actually bring the XLA thing on top of the ServiceNow. You don't have to touch the SLAs. I think we all agree that you shouldn't kind of delete the SLAs. They are, they have their value, but to create an XLA type of model with HappySignals, so setting here the targets. So the target setting in HappySignals allows you to set certain targets, put them up slowly all the time, tweak them if something happens, so that there's always a kind of realistic target. What are we supposed to target to? It's not something that you put once and then you just let it be there for 2 years and try to just do the minimum. But like we said earlier, the expectations and the experiences of end users change all the time. So you need to be able to follow it up. Anything, Sami, on the XLA topic?
I think it's the XLA thing is quite often, I would say, I would divide that to 2 different things. So yes, you have those agreements with some of the vendors and you need a target for them. And you can use XLA, the experience in that one. But maybe even more important is how you set those targets for your people in your own organization and start to use it a KPI with people. Because now when you understand that there is a way of looking at it from certain tool or channel or vendor's perspective, you can have individual targets as well. And in our case, all this data is also always saved to your ServiceNow. So this is a view to the experience data, making it easy, but you have that data also in ServiceNow. So agents and team leads and all those people will get their own feedback continuously, and they can have targets on this one.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I think those are some of the key topics. And then I think one of the things that people forget sometimes, and especially related to this yearly IT survey type of thing, is that now what we are looking here is of course ticket-based data. But then what about people's experiences on other topics? So let's look at the dashboard on like the whole IT experience. What about the collaboration with IT, the enterprise applications? How do I feel about laptops? There's so many roles in the IT department that need to understand the experience who are not providing, ticket-based services as such. So for example, if you have a VPN, if you have an enterprise application that you are let's say migrating, you are moving from the old-fashioned Exchange to Office 365, how do you know that it actually makes people more productive and happier unless you first have the baseline before you do it and then continuously see what are the things that are kind of affecting it. Any example? Well, let's take, for example, remote work. Like you, Sami, mentioned that understanding where the remote work is working well, is it certain department issue that people are feeling, for example, they are using it more in the IT. For example, maybe the IT guys need to use VPNs to access certain network things or stuff like
last
that.
year, it is again easy to take an example.
Yeah.
In very organizations, salespeople have always been able to work remotely.
True.
They had laptops.
Yeah.
Last year, suddenly there were people who were previously not allowed to work from home.
Yeah.
And now they were forced to work from home.
Yeah.
Of course, it was important for the IT team to be able to look at these two different groups differently, separately. So what are the new people experiencing? And okay, old experienced guys from remote working, they know what to do, but we need to support the new guys in these and these areas.
Yeah.
And that's why the kind of the department information, when you are looking at the whole experience data, is from our perspective really, really interesting and important to kind of. I think we typically use examples like from cities or hospitals. There are total different kind of roles, and in every organization there are.
Yeah.
So that helps you to really understand the business units you are working together.
And to kind of still highlight the understanding the different roles. So let's say that now in general people say that accessing the tools or the VPN access is the most difficult. What if I only click here, let's say salespeople? Then does that differ? Then it seems that actually the VPN is the most important thing. So when you are then talking, let's say from the business side on people who are running the sales departments, you can show them to them that, hey, with your employees, we know proactively from IT point of view that these are the issues and these are the actions that we're actually working on it. That's a totally different kind of proactive way of communicating towards the different business departments or the business units.
Yeah, and I can promise you, those guys, when you meet those business guys, are much more interested in this kind of data than they are. How many tickets did you solve last month? Kind of, they are then asking you, why did we have so many tickets?
Yeah.
Rather than really kind of focusing on how you are helping them to be productive.
And I'll take another example, like devices, like computers. So of course you could try to understand from the devices point of view, how does the device feel that the device is doing? But when you actually ask from the end users, then it starts to be that actually it might be that it's policies that are affecting. The device itself is doing fine, but it's not really fitting for what I need. So, and that's again why I say that the human sensor is really the important. It's very simple and it's very easy to start doing that. Just asking from the people, why is this thing, even for example, the battery life, the battery health might be fine, but the device type that you have chosen is not useful for the sales guys if they need to be, or let's say some field engineers who need to be out of the office a long time and don't have the possibility to just have it plugged into the power source. But yeah, let's get back some into the story. So I hope that those practical examples showed you how our customers use HappySignals. What kind of data can they find? And maybe once more to iterate that this is why we see that this needs to be a continuous thing. So having continuous experience management. So first, understanding what experiences your employees are having. That is very critical. You need to understand that. Sharing that data with everybody. Like I always say that, the worst thing you can do is you measure and then you don't share it. That experience data, is stayed in some Excel sheet, or it's in your ServiceNow, where only the people who have access to ServiceNow can access that. That is the data that you need to have available for everybody. And then you can really move from these gut feelings to data-driven decisions. And basically also moving from SLAs to XLAs. And when everybody's focused on the same goal, then I think what we want to show is the great results that our customers have been able to do.
Maybe Bas is still on this slide, because when talking about ServiceNow, I think there are some functionalities in ServiceNow, like continuous improvement model, that is really valuable when it comes, and our data is really valuable for that process. So when you have that on that platform, you can really use it and kind of do things in that process that are valuable for the end user perspective.
Yeah.
So not everything is handled in our tool. When you have a ServiceNow, some of the actions you do inside ServiceNow and get more out of the functionalities that you have on that platform. And I think that's now starting to be more and more kind of a normal practice for our customers.
Yeah, and actually now that you mentioned that, also the sharing part. So when you have HappySignals, all the data gets kind of pulled back to your ServiceNow. So you can use the workflow designer, for example, that if you get a poor score, you can launch a task from it. So you can create these tasks and workflows based on the experience data that you're getting back to your ServiceNow instance. So it's not a separate thing somewhere, but really we feel that you should be able to leverage our data inside your Now platform with all the capabilities that it has.
And now sort of going back to the automation. So when using the virtual agent, you can really direct the tickets to those teams that are making people more happy.
Yeah.
So
True.
you can use also the data to kind of teach your AI in ServiceNow to work even better.
Yeah, true. All right. Then I want to talk about the great results. So because our customers do hear this thanks to IT, I was able to. And looking some of the cases, so you can see that we work with large enterprises. And this usually is the thing that happens. So everybody started from somewhere, but then they focus their IT departments on the common goal. And what starts to happen is that they start to go towards that goal. So for example, you can see some of those numbers, and then why that graph is fluctuating. I was just having a webinar at some point. Somebody was asking, like, what happened with Campari here in February? Well, COVID-19 happened here in February, so you can see that impact. But on the other hand, with Wilhelmser, there was another thing that was happening, an external influence that IT couldn't really, affect, and you can see it in the experience things. And this is really important to understand, because if you were doing this like a yearly survey or twice a year, are you getting that number while you are in the dip or while you are in the high? It's just that kind of the experience is fluctuating. I think is the main message. Anything you want to, Sami, highlight here from? I think the industry thing sometimes is what we talk about, that does it matter the industry? Well, the industry that HappySignals works with is IT, enterprise IT. And I guess it's like building cars. I love, I've been in Bavaria for 7 years, so there are a couple of brands there that one might start with A and one with B. I'm pretty sure that they all have the same robots, they all use aluminum, all that stuff. So they have the same processes. Then it's it doesn't really matter even if they would be building something else than cars. It could be building motorcycles or whatever. But they're still using those same processes, same tools, and that kind of comes with IT. People have their Office 365s, they have their ITIL processes, and so on. Yeah.
Kind of the thing what I want to underline here is that these are the success stories of our customers, but these are also success stories for everybody who has been helping these customers doing that.
Yes.
So all these customers are really proud of the results, but they're also proud of all the service desk delivery guys, ServiceNow partners, ServiceNow, to be able to deliver that change. So that is what I love in our kind of a position in the ServiceNow ecosystem, that we are helping everybody to go succeed. And I think that's something that I really like as a position of our company.
Yeah.
So happy to kind of have common success stories.
True. And like we said earlier, focusing on that happiness really leads into productivity. Do you want to Sami open up this? What has happened on average with the productivity?
So how we got this 26 is that we take the first 2 months new customer started to use our product, comparing that to the last 2 months using the product, and on average that is 26% more efficient end users, and that is the IT incident data used in this one. So in fact, I think that means, if I now remember right, 47 minutes per ticket more efficient on average.
Okay.
And you can really think about that as quite a huge efficiency improvement.
All right, but then many times when we start with companies, it's about but then how do we do this? Of course, if you're lucky enough that your CIO or somebody very on the C level says that, hey, this is now the direction we are going, then it gets easier. But many times that's not the case. So you need to start somewhere. How do you show the value? How do you build up this culture of being employee driven? So of course, the first thing that we always say that you need to have continuous measurement. But then I think the next thing is really more important is the transparency. Sami, how do you feel about transparency or with your conversations with customers?
I think that is, if you're not taking that step, don't please start even measure. The transparency is the basis of trust, which means the basis of common focus. If you're not going to be transparent to all your vendors, or some MSP is not willing to be transparent towards the customers, there is no point. Because then when you start to be in the situation, because then you just measure something and still you're working the way of that broken phone, as we described at the beginning. The only thing how you get everybody working together is being transparent. But that really ends up in a situation that everybody then has the same focus. And then you start to see, okay, the SLAs that you typically previously are using as maybe functions even in your agreements, and you were very, very doing decisions based on the SLAs, you slowly turn it around. So we don't recommend to do it like first day you start to measure, because you need to get that transparency, you need to get the trust, the data, not only by the people who made the decision, but your organization and vendors. And that takes a bit time. Yeah. But as you see from those customer examples, it takes about 1 to 1.5 years typically, then you start to be more in a kind of cultural level.
Yeah, and even nowadays, when talking with some of the customers, like Trekit, where we have a nice webinar coming up now in April, is that they are still struggling with the culture. It just takes time. You just need to be continuously showing the value that you bring. Then also some of the people now are asking, so how do I get to XLAs? Well, you can't get to XLAs if you don't understand the experience that the end users are having. So just setting an experience level agreement, agreeing on some target that you basically don't really have a good understanding is very difficult, even impossible, I would say. But yeah, then it does create this culture. Do you have any good examples, Sami, on companies that are now in the employee-centric culture stage already?
I think you kind of recognize those who are best in that one when you talk with the people, and they are not talking about that one number anymore.
Yeah,
they're more talking about success and kind of what they changed. And I think that's very, very key. So this is not a competition between different organizations, how high you can get your experience score. It's always understanding what you can do better. I mean, that starts to be kind of motivation of people. I want to help our customers, the end users. I want to do things better from their perspective. That is the moment when we are happy. So we have been able to help that organization to start to think that the experience, so the real meaning why IT exists, we are here to help the end users of the organization to be more efficient. We are not here to make our own life easier. And that's something
and I think
sometimes you forget.
Good example from Refinitiv is that they have this T-shirt saying, "How can I help?" It's like that already talks about the culture. It's not about we talk about these numbers, but it's in the culture. The whole idea is that how can I help, and that's when you actually start to get this thanks to IT answers as well. But then what we are saying also that it's very easy to get started. So Of course, HappySignals, you can install it from the ServiceNow store. So then you know what the experiences are. It's very easy to start involving your employees and agents. We have the ServiceNow widgets that get embedded into the ServiceNow, so people don't have to leave that environment who are there. Then we have the very easy use analytics things for the business users and the stakeholders and the vendors. And then you can actually create more value with less effort. So you basically pick something that you do. And the fourth thing is celebrate success. And I put that screenshot from ServiceNow YouTube because I think many of the ServiceNow listeners recognize these videos about celebrating what IT is doing. And this, I think, is really where HappySignals brings it. Like you said earlier in the graphs, all the vendors, the partners, everybody can celebrate that, hey, we actually made an impact, measurable impact. Because many times that it's too vague. Did we make actual an impact, or did we just deliver things on time, on budget? And are we in the SLAs? So
more motivation. I think the easy example we are using here is typically the service desk agents work.
Yeah.
Previously measured by how many tickets I close per hour or day.
Yeah.
So if I really want to be mean, I can say you're measuring how fast they are getting rid of their customers compared to measuring how they help people. And if you think about your self-going work, helping people rather than killing tickets, I think you all know what is more motivating.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for all the roles in IT. So experience of end users is not the enemy making us work more. It is making us work more with the point of why we are doing things. And that is more motivating. And I think in the current situation we are, it's even more important now that also in IT, overall in the business, we are motivating people of the purpose why they are doing things.
Yeah.
So they can think about with their own brains how they can do that better.
All right. And one of our things also is that we want to help to change how IT does this. And that's why we have created all this content to our website. So for example, we have this whole practical guide to XLAs, how to get started with those. We have all these case studies like Alstrom, Munksjö, Refinitiv, really nice stories of how to use your Now environment with HappySignals to get huge results. And then also, if you want to hear more me and Sami talk, we have our IT Experience podcast. So you can find that from all the regular podcast platforms, or of course from our website. But basically, then I would like to thank you. And like mentioned earlier, there's also, why we do this is because of our customers. And I think that is something that you will see from the G2 pages. So really seeing like how people are commenting that I couldn't really do my work without this one. And that's why we are here. Any last words, Sami, from your side?
I think just the typical one.
Yeah.
Stay healthy and stay happy.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and let's talk.